I can tell a lot of people would have complained, ooh, he's got the curling iron arms.
To me, the biggest disappointment is wasted potential.
I've just given a couple examples here, but good googly moogly.
Come on, don't tell me this toy is already like over half a decade old. No way.
Fuck! Welcome, dear esteemed students of the School of Athenia. It is I, your headmaster, Kit Catastrophe, back once again for another edition of the Chugcratic seminar, our 16th to date. Today, we will be a bit short-staffed today. We are missing both Definitely Not Char, who has come down with the sickness, and ID Armed, who is currently pursuing a degree in the hard sciences as opposed to the humanities. Today, I am enjoying the company of my esteemed co-host, Runestone.
So, is it tradition that every 8 episodes will only have 2 deans?
Yeah. I guess I don't want to make it a habit, but so far that's how it's shaping up. Runestone, how are you doing today?
Doing okay. Not being sick, which, makes me happy. That's all I can say.
I'm sure you're very excited. You'll actually get to, get a word in edgewise this episode.
ID makes less appearances in these episodes, and yet it still feels like he contributes more than I do.
That's one of the good things about him. Once you get him on a subject, it's hard to get him off.
His dialogue per minute is off the charts, I'm telling you.
It just means there's less I have to do per episode. So today, as everyone is well aware, the age of the primes is close upon us. It is nigh. But instead of looking forward, because who really wants to sit through us talking about figure reveals for the 17th time? I mean, we have extracurriculars for that, and I'm not even sure they do that well. We're taking a look back at the last 3 and a bit years of Transformers history and taking a retrospective glance at the Legacy era. I was such a clever bitch when I came up with this. The legacy of Transformers Legacy. All right. Hold your applause. Legacy has been around for a couple years now, and, everyone has their own hot takes about it, and I figured what better time to share ours than right the fuck now.
I will say Char would have been kind of at a disadvantage since he apparently doesn't have that many figures from the line. Or from the trilogy, rather.
If he were here, he would say something along the lines of, that's perfectly fine and probably for the best.
But I'm sure we have plenty to say on these figures.
Oh, yeah, especially since I bought most of them. Speaking of buying things, before we get into the meat and gravy, we of course have to talk about our recent purchases. What have you gotten recently?
So I have, as I hinted at in the last episode, I now have Volume 2 of the collective trade paperback for Skybound's Transformers comics, which covers issues 7 to 12. As I'm sure has been pointed out somewhere, they seem to be collected in groups of 6 because that's how long every major story arc lasts.
Yeah, it's also just, 1 issue per month, so 6 months in a paperback. That's a pretty good amount.
I mean, there are recurring plot threads that crop up between issues and all that, but otherwise that just seems to be how they're doing things in this series, and I'm still willing to take part in a future Skybound episode if that actually happens.
Yeah, if I get around to it. I've been buying it issue by issue, and we're currently up to issue number 17, and I have to say it is as good as it's ever been so far. I'm still quite enjoying the run. Oh, hey, it's Bot Shots from Twitter. He's in the chat today. He says, "What's up?" What is up is our mood. Talking about our recent purchases. Have you gotten any toys recently, Runestone?
The one toy that I'll talk about is Studio Series Ape Link, which
Ooh.
means that my cast of Rise of the Beast Maximals is complete.
So I'm guessing you have both him and Optimus Primal.
Yes, I just said my maximal cast is complete, and it's no shock that Ape Link is a retool. Like it's no shock that he was merely a retool of Optimus Primal, even though I believe Ape Link is a bit bigger and bulkier in the film, but I don't see many springing for a Commander class toy of him, to be honest.
I would not be in that number.
They changed the shoulder guards and replaced Primal swords with forearm blades. I honestly wish they did more with the robot mode, especially the Deco, as if you don't have the two side by side, you'd likely mistake him for Primal anyway.
I had two questions, but you psychically preempted me, so now I have none.
What were those questions?
Well, actually, I can't remember what the first one was, but the second one was basically, do you find the changes to be substantial enough? And can you tell them apart on a shelf?
Well, I mean, together you probably could, but if you just saw them individually at a casual glance, it'd be like, "Who's that?" It's still it's still the same decent mold, aside from how messy the gorilla legs are.
Yeah.
I honestly think that the core series Voyager Primal does a far better job with that, in my opinion.
Oh, I just love the core series Primal as well. Studio series Primal is fine, though. If the changes are that insubstantial, I don't think I'll end up getting Ape Link. But I guess if they are similar, except like if they are identical, except for like the few scant changes that Ape Link gets, then maybe Ape Link sounds like the better choice if you don't have either, because he gets the cool swords or the blades. Do they have different accessories?
Well, I mean, the blades are accessories themselves. I believe he also comes with the transwarp key that splits in two, which I don't think Primal does.
He does. He does.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
I was just going off the top of my head, but okay, I'll take your word for that. The one thing I will say, though, just looking at the cast that we have, I just keep thinking, if Rise of the Beasts came out in like the 2007 to Dark of the Moon era, I can only imagine that the actual Rise of the Beast toy line wouldn't have all this gimmicky hodgepodge junk, and instead we just have a series of mainline figures, like obviously the majority of which are characters from the film, but you'd also have potentially a group of like Maximals and Predacons, some of which could have been based on existing Beast Wars characters. Including, I think there was a concept art for a Rampage and Waspinator for that film. Honestly, can't remember if that was just actual concept art or fan art. Who knows? And I just think there are just so many opportunities had this movie came out at a different time.
Could you imagine fast action Beast Warriors?
Well, I mean,
fast action battlers. They would be peak.
I mean, the closest we get are those of all things, those rescue bots figures. Like they did an Optimus Primal. I think they did a Gator Megatron.
Oh yeah, they did. Oh yeah, the armor stuff. I remember that. But as for additions to my collection, I haven't really gotten anything that I haven't already talked about. I did end up getting that box that I mentioned in my last video, containing the unreleased movie. Oh God, what's his name? I'm blanking on it. Movie Reverb. along with Masterpiece Skids, who is amazing. But the only thing I've gotten since then is a pre-order that was supposed to arrive last October, but didn't arrive until January, of the Mastermind Creations all-in-one Groove figure. Cannot remember his name, even though I have his box on my desk right now. Incertus. Don't do that with your Tarn figure, by the way. Don't Incertus your Tarn.
Well, you just had to bring that up.
Anyway, Groove is a phenomenal figure. Actually, I didn't really like him when I first got him out of the box, but I've been doing basically nothing but playing with him on my desk, and the more I do, the more I enjoy him, and the more I appreciate what it's actually doing. Instead of he just looks a little weird. He's very gangly and stuff, but he turns into a police bicycle, so you might come to expect that. But his transformation's really clever. He basically turns inside out. His torso, the front tire becomes his spine, which is pretty brilliant. The only thing I don't really like is that the wheels that end up sitting on the inside of his legs just kind of clash when you put him into a neutral stance. And his head, the head assembly that his neck is on, is just a little weird, and it transforms awkwardly. But overall, it's still another banger from MMC. Not quite as much of a banger as Streetwise may have been, but still pretty decent, pretty entertaining. And there's a lot of talent that went into these toys, I can safely say. I really appreciate what they're doing, and I'm looking forward to Blades to finish off Defensor. So with that out of the way, why don't we get to talking about the Legacy Trilogy. Today we'll be discussing the best and the worst figures of the Legacy Trilogy. We're not going line by line. It's not that. We're just, here's my best, here's my worst, here's Rune's best, here's Rune's worst. If ID Armed and definitely not Char were present today, this would take like 15 hours, I swear to God.
But before that, because it's not just about individual figures, but what the trilogy did right and wrong as a whole, and our humble opinions.
Sorry, I coughed up a lung. So yeah, we basically brainstormed about what our favorite aspects of the line in general were before we got into the nitty-gritty of which figures were our favorite ones. And obviously, Legacy's biggest conceit and its biggest selling point is that it's a more hodgepodge, eclectic take on the Transformers history. There's still a lot of G1. But as Garrett points out, less G1. The proportion of G1 to non-G1 is a lot more balanced this time around. We got all sorts of lines. We got G2. We got all three parts of the Unicron trilogy. We got pretty much every line from the Beast Wars. We got Rescue Bots. We got Animated. We got Prime. We got RID to 2015. We got Kiss Players. We got all sorts of stuff in Legacy. Yeah, I would agree, Garrett. Energon did get the short stick, but hopefully we'll see some more of them pretty soon. Though, to be fair, Energon is the best toy line in the history of the world, so can't complain too badly, So
I mean, to be fair, it's not like those other lines weren't homaged in past Chug installments. But this went all full force, relatively speaking, and as fun as it is, I'll just preface this with there is a certain caveat to this that will be explored in where the line went wrong. But
Oh yes.
but you know, just the mere fact that these universes are being touched on at all, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. And on that note, we also get to see a lot more obscure characters. We don't see, I mean, we do see, the big heavy hitters, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Megatron, Soundwave. We got so many Megatrons. But thankfully, so many different Megatrons. Um, but, and oh my God, how many Starscreams did we get in Legacy? At least two. Um, but we got to see obscure characters. We got to see new characters. We got to see people that characters that people have been clamoring for, like Needle Nose and Sandstorm, and oh God, who else? Tarantulas. Um, can you think of any more good examples?
Well, I mean, like this even applies to the more recent series they covered because, like when it comes to RID 2015, or like we obviously, not obviously, but it's kind of no surprise that Strong Arm got some attention because she was the big breakout character of that series with her fairly unique design among fembots. But if we're talking obscure characters, we got Filch in that Star Raiders subline they did for Legacy United.
Yeah, as Botshots mentions, we got freaking Farak of all people as a Walmart exclusive. Who could have seen that one coming?
Yeah, like that's one thing I'll say. Like, even though they did, as you say, touch on G1 a fair amount, at least it wasn't the Arc crew yet again.
Though to be fair, when they did touch upon those characters, some of them were given some pretty fine toys, as we'll soon see.
I mean, right from the onset, we had the likes of Iguanus, like the Generation 1 Pretender Iguanus.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, and we got Bombers not long after that.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking through the TF wiki page. They got the whole lot. Let's see. Oh, I tell you what. This can also extend to the redecos and retools they did, because, like I say, we got Filch from Kingdom Eraser, but for the first year of Legacy, they had 3 Walmart exclusives that were redecos of Kingdom figures. Like we got Buzzsaw, Night Prowler, and the Predacon Sandstorm.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I almost forgot about those. That was wild. We got a blue streak in the Target exclusive line. Funnily enough, named Silver Streak. That was cheeky. That was super cheeky. I enjoyed that a little bit. And it's actually my favorite version of the mold so far. I say so far as if they aren't going to retire it soon.
For Velocitron, for the Velocitron collection, and then later for United, we got a Victory Galaxy Shuttle.
Oh yeah,
from Astro Train, of course.
I forgot about him.
I'm just looking what else we got. We got some Diaclone homages, of course.
And if we're just automatically calling Japanese exclusive characters obscure, then Legacy United came right out the gate with Tasmania Kid.
Not a moment too soon, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, it's a shame we'll probably never see Diver out of that one crossover mold.
They better fucking do it. I'm just saying they better fucking do it.
Oh yeah, an actually attainable Windsweeper. I don't have him yet, but he was on my list for a while. I'd like to get him eventually. Another high point we discussed is that the gimmicks of the past decade of the Chug lines still get to continue through the present day. Like we got the combat system, pull apart we got pull apartizers, the fossilizers, and junkions. They could form armor and weapons and stuff. And I could have sworn there was a headmaster. Yes, there was a headmaster. I can think of at least one headmaster that continues the Titan's Return play pattern. That being Fangry from the Creatures Collide 2-pack.
I can think of another Squeeze Play.
Oh yes, I forgot about him. He's on store shelves right now. Where is Fangry in my thing? Fangry.
Fangry was a retool of Titan's Return Twinferno, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I would consider him closer to Grotesque, but they all come from the same place,
Meanwhile, Squeeze Play, I believe, was heavily retooled from Mind Wipe.
Oh wait, I think Fangry technically counts as a Kingdom toy. That may be my. I think so. I'd have to double check. But yeah, Squeeze Play definitely. He has a headmaster. I'm really glad that they still use that gimmick, and it makes my use of Titan Masters as a size comparison tool all the more evergreen, because we're still getting them. Getting them.
This is one thing. Like when it comes to gimmicks and play features, this is one thing I think about, because I think Char posted on X a while back saying that gimmicks have been dropped from Chug, and I'm like, no, they haven't. I
think what he means is having specific, every single toy built around a particular gimmick that has been dropped, but they do have line-wide gimmicks still. I will give you that. They do still have line-wide gimmicks. They still have the headmasters. They still have the pull-apartizers that can combine with literally everyone and themselves. Gimmicks aren't dead. They've just transformed.
I suppose, but it's not like the toys don't give you things to do even outside of transformation. Like you said, the pull apart Isa play pattern was continued. They brought back some headmasters. They brought back combiners.
Unfortunately, well, I guess it depends on who you ask. Not compatible with the previous Combiner Wars system.
Not entirely true, actually. I believe that you can slide the leg components off of Menasor and replace them with any of the Combiner Wars Deluxes.
I'll have to try that out. Every single one of my Transformers is still in storage right now. So
I know I've seen it somewhere. I'm pretty sure I've seen it somewhere.
It is ringing a bell. It is ringing a bell. But you can't you can't switch the arms around, so it's not like you can go all out and make Abominaticus with Menasor bits,
Well,
you can't tack on Vortex onto Motormaster's arm, stuff like that.
Well, I don't. The thing is, I believe with the upcoming Superion they're doing for Age of the Primes, I believe you can actually slide off the arm blocks and put them onto Menasor and vice versa. So I don't think the Scramble City play pattern has been abandoned entirely. It's been downplayed, I'll admit that. And you do have to obviously spend a lot of money because the torso bots are now being sold at Commander class, but the play value is still there to some extent.
Yeah. I'm just saying, the Combiner Wars stuff isn't quite as backwards compatible as the Titan Masters still are. They're definitely trying to phase one out in favor of the other.
I'm just thinking of other gimmicks they had, because I mean, this leads us to the fourth bullet point. The one thing that these pull-apartizers got right was that they actually transformed.
Yes, that's been on my wish list since Siege. I've been like that was the one thing that was, you know, lowering my enjoyment of like the weaponizers and the fossilizers and stuff. I didn't even bother with the modulators. I didn't get a single one. Is just that like they didn't have an actual transformation scheme. Like you just pull them apart and put them back together. And I guess that's fine. You know, that's I think that's fine for, you know, the ultimate. They don't all have to try to be like freaking Samurai Prowl from animated. But you know, like I just wish you could have gone from one like the robot mode to the alternate mode by actually transforming the thing instead of pulling it apart. Save the pulling apart bit for, you know, the actual like play pattern with the rest of the line where you just armor them up, deck them out with weapons and stuff. And I think the Junkions and the oh god, what are they called? The Armorizers. I didn't get a single one of those either. Oh wait, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. I got shard. They were a lot more successful in that regard. My problems with those particular toys are just endemic to those toys themselves. I find them lacking in certain other regards that aren't terribly important. I'll save that for like an actual review at some point.
I mean, in terms of armorizers, the ones I have are Shard, Boulder Crash, and Calcitron from the Star Raider pack, which includes Thundertron and Night Shriek.
Is that the blue one?
Yep.
You got your vaguely ice themed redeco from your wish list.
I don't think that was in a wish list episode, but I think I did say in at least one episode that I wouldn't mind an ice themed redeco of one of the armorizers, and I guess I got my wish after all.
But yeah, outside of Shard, I never bothered with the armorizers. For my problem with the armorizers is that for the most part they just look too boring, you know. And I didn't really care, but I couldn't even find Thundertron in my stores, so just wasn't terribly interested in the ones that I did find. Shall we talk about? Shall we bitch for a minute about what we didn't like about Legacy?
Go right ahead. You lead the charge.
So, Legacy, you weren't exactly the best. Let's talk about, you know, the G1ification, the evergreen style, as it were, that was forced upon, especially in the first year, on non-G1 characters and, you know, non-Beast Wars characters, because the Beast Wars characters were still pretty accurate.
Yeah, they unfortunately hit this right out of the gate with the likes of Deluxe Prime Universe RC and especially Voyager class Prime Universe Bulkhead.
Yeah, they did. It's fortunately that was about as bad as it got for the whole trilogy. At least I think so. But Botshot is apologizing for Bulkhead, saying Bulkhead was peak. Bulkhead was a fine toy, yeah, but as a version of Prime Bulkhead, it wasn't. It was, if they were just like, okay, here's a G1 version of Bulkhead, I'd be like, okay, it's decent. It's a decent toy. It's a little basic, but you know, it's decent. There's an idea there. It's definitely more drawn from animated than Prime, but when they were like, oh, we're going to make a Prime Bulkhead, there's an obvious image that conjures up in your head, and Legacy Bulkhead is not that. RC was just a bad design choice. all around. The toy, the engineering is fine. It's not a terribly offensive toy, and it has a decently interesting transformation from what I remember. But it just looks bad. The paper thin torso, like you can tell, it's just like it's like a CCBS piece. If any of y'all in the chat are Lego Construction fans, the torso just feels like it came out of Hero Factory. The head sculpt was kind of weird and uncanny, and the proportions just looked a little awkward, and it just didn't sit right with just about anyone.
Well, there is that. Sorry, I was just saying that there is one thing to that mold that I'll bring up when we discuss our least favorite figures. Spoiler alert.
I will say though, it did look a bit better as people who weren't RC. Like it looked better as Road Rocket and G2 Jazz. The characters the mold was actually supposed to be.
What do you think? What do you think of Ariel and stepping outside of Legacy for a moment? Shattered Glass Flame War.
I don't think about them too terribly much. Ariel had that weird head sculpt, that weird G1 accurate head sculpt. Flame War looked all right, but since Flame War, her most popular incarnation is just a redeco of Prime RC, she has all of the same problems as Legacy Prime RC. She looks better on the original mold.
The big thing I have regarding the G1ification of non-G1 characters is that it takes away from just the main premise of the Legacy trilogy, like what it stands for, which is all about all these multiple universes colliding, which, can potentially mean all sorts of random aesthetics, making for a more wild, diverse, and interesting trilogy, in my opinion. But
yes, exactly.
They decided to like I've already said like G1ification like 5 fucking times already. I don't know what else to use.
They homogenized it.
Yeah, like just some small, this might sound petty, but just some small changes might have done those figures a little bit more justice, because like I mean, I'm not a fan of the Prime RC mold in general, but take off the nose, and I think it would resemble Prime RC just a little bit better, because that was the style of Prime as a whole.
I will say they did get better about it as time went on. They did lean more into the original aesthetics of whatever toy line or media the characters were from. Like the animated updates, especially Optimus Prime, were a lot more cartoony. They definitely still had a bit of that G1 blockiness, but it was more like a filter than a complete redesign, like RC and Bulkhead went through,
and Knockout.
Yeah, no, I forgot about Knockout, but I actually kind of like Knockout, so he's in my blind spot.
That's the thing. Like a lot of these, Prime and RID and animated updates as such, they can fall into the category of fine toy on their own, but an iffy or questionable representation of the character in question.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want it to sound like, oh, everything has to look exactly like it did when it was new. Because like if Hasbro were just like, let's make some like G1 style versions of these non-G1 characters, that'd be great. I would receive that very well. And looking at toys like Bulkhead, like Knockout, yeah, I like him. I like him. I like him a lot. I especially like Knockout. I like his vehicle mode a lot. So, but if you're gonna be like, oh, this is prime Knockout, this is prime Bulkhead, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, you know. But again, that's not to say I want everything to be slavishly accurate. I really want Hasbro to escape that trap.
Well, I mean, some designs are just hard to pull off full stop.
Oh, definitely. But I don't know. Like, I think, for instance, animated Bumblebee is not the best toy. I don't like it terribly much, but it is noticeably different from every other animated Bumblebee toy. That's fine, and it's different from most other Bumblebee toys. Full stop. But it's also still recognizably the animated version, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, for the most part, up until Transformers Cybertron, like that's the general stopping point for what's the word? What you see, I didn't script this part, so this will showcase how crap I am going off the cuff.
Do you usually script these things?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
obviously my thoughts are genuine, but like I phrase them in a way that sounds remotely coherent. What I'm trying to say is that every Transformers series before animated doesn't have this problem because the aesthetics of those lines are within the realm of G1 to begin with. It's when you get to animated and onwards where the designs become more stylized that we have this problem.
Yeah, but even then, at least animated had the benefit of having the toys be designed in conjunction with the show designs. Like they were worked on at the exact same time so that they could, you know, give feedback back and forth and actually make the toys workable. I can just tell if Shar is listening to this, he's pounding on his desk right now. I would say the real stopping the real cutoff is Prime, because those designs were never meant to actually transform. Like in a million years, those were designed show first, toy second, clear as day. So, and that's where I guess you get a lot of problems with trying to adapt those designs because, you know, like for instance, look at Knockout. His torso is extremely like flat in the show, but he has these giant like shoulder pads of the front fenders and the big wheels on his back, and you don't see the other wheels anywhere else on his body. If I recall correctly, it's been forever since I've seen the show, so don't at me. But you know, how do you adapt that into toy form? I mean, we saw the original Prime line take a swing at it, and I think they did pretty all right for what they had to work with. But you know, there were some obvious issues with that toy, you know, design wise, and then with Legacy, they were just like, just make him a jazz retool. Fuck it, you know.
Literally,
didn't even try.
I think I said this before. All they pretty much had to do was create a central piece that folds flat down. I think
Yes.
that would have solved everything. Well, maybe not everything, but it would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah. But you know, like I said before, I still really like Knockout, especially his vehicle mode. It just speaks to me. So I can't rag on him too much. Speaking of ragging too much, we should probably move on to the next bullet point. This one will probably be a bit shorter, but they got rid of the plastic windows on the packaging to be more environmentally conscious. When I first heard about this initiative, for lack of a better word, I was, you know, tacitly supporting of it because, you know, it's always nice to see, you know, companies try to reduce waste and all. But I think after a couple of years of hindsight, you know, if they want their open box packaging Like, they want it because the focus groups love it. The kids love to see the actual toy in the box. If they want that, then it's best to just have the window, because how many times have you seen toys missing heads, missing accessories, just outright stolen from the box, stuff like that? I mean,
Yeah, that's just what I was going to bring up. The toys lost their heads, and quite symbolically, so did the collective fan base.
But now that Age of the Primes is about to start, we'll see the return of plastic windows, which, for all the hippies in the audience, that's probably your 9/11. But for now, it's probably the best solution. If it were up to me, I'd just make everything closed box. But then you have the disadvantage of not actually being able to see if your toy sucks.
I think,
So,
I think the only 3 figures in that entire trilogy that still had the window box were those aforementioned Kingdom recolors. I like Buzzsaw, Predacon, Sandstorm, and Nightprowler.
yes, though for the 4 packs, they started. I think started adding the windows. The current one that's out now with Squeeze Play and Cliff Jumper, that one has a plastic window. I've seen it in person. I'm pretty sure the last one did too.
I mean, I guess I commend them for trying to be environmentally friendly, but it was one thing when they got rid of the plastic bubble inside the box that supported the figure, because the tie seemed to do the job okay for the most part, but when they got rid of the windows, well, yeah, that didn't fucking backfire in any way, did it?
Snippy.
Yeah, and if it wasn't the heads, it was also some of the cassettes of that Legacy United Soundwave they did.
Yeah.
I know people wanted Buzzsaw, but I didn't think they wanted him that badly, for God's sake.
It's more they didn't want to spend leader price for Voyager Soundwave. But that's neither here nor there. Finally, there were some pretty obvious omissions and some canceled toys that were kind of disappointing to us. Namely, we got a lot of Armada updates in Legacy, or I probably shouldn't say updates. I would say revisions. Armada revisions. We got Hotshot, we got Megatron and Galvatron, Optimus, Starscream, and Super Starscream. Am I missing anyone? I know we have Red Alert coming in Age of the Primes.
Wheeljack, Armada Wheeljack.
Oh yes, Wheeljack. And outside of Powerlink's Hotshot, none of them came with a Minicon. And this is especially damning for Wheeljack because we know the mold exists. I have the mold in my house. It's because they put it with Shattered Glass Sideswipe. They gave him his Minicon, but fuck me if I want my Armada Wheeljack to come with his, even though the mold exists.
Yeah, like to those watching right now, when Legacy United Wave 5, I mean, on the one hand, I do agree with the point about the minicons, that it's unfortunate they weren't included, but at the same time, it did get a bit repetitive hearing about it. Like when Legacy United Wave 5 was revealed, which of course included Armada Wheeljack, I had to put up with a whole bunch of Mowinshire in that fucking server. Well, what? At least, like you said, the mold for that design fucking exists. My guy, Sure-Shot, got fucking cancelled altogether, as did that core class Dinobot. I think they were both slated for Wave 2 initially, and then they got pushed back to Wave 5, and then they just never happened.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Um, and the worst part is they probably would have turned out okay. Yeah, and the thing that sucks is, Sure Shot at least has a chance to be released in Age of the Primes at some point. Because Gears was set for Kingdom initially, and it took him 3 years to come out in Legacy United. The problem with you being a Beast Wars fan above all is Dinobot was core class, and core class is dead.
It is unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm not as bothered by that because, I have the Voyager Kingdom Dinobot. By the way, cheap plug, check out my recent review of Henkei Dinobot. It did not age well, but yeah, I mean, and not only that, but I question how well that design would have been pulled off at the core class, especially if they were. Well, I mean, I guess they would necessarily be aiming for show accuracy because that is the cheatiest design you could possibly imagine.
Imagine if it was like Dinobot 2 for some reason.
Well, I mean, again, I'd rather have full-sized toys of the characters that are meant to be big. Like, I'm more bothered about Diver than core class Dinobot. I'm just hoping that someday they'll adapt that crossovers design into Diver, Spit, or possibly even Slapper. I mean, it wouldn't be accurate, but for Slapper, but it'd be something.
I mean, there was a red repaint of that initial. I think it was red
Yeah,
repaint of that initial Spittle mold, so you
yeah,
could repurpose that as Slapper.
it was a transmetal. It was a transmetal, quote unquote, Spittle, which they could just repurpose as a Beast Wars Slapper, I guess.
Yeah.
But as for Sure Shot, I'm going to bring this up a little later, also in my least favorite figures slide. I honestly would like it if he was Deluxe Plus. If it meant that the toy is of genuine quality all the way around.
Point blank. Sorry, I have a bit of a cough. I mentioned that earlier. Anyway, we should probably move on to our next couple slides. Let's get back on the positive, happy train. Happy. Let's talk. I'm up first with my favorites. These are just a bit of an eclectic group. I one of my favorites is Commander Class Motormaster, which is a bit weird if you know my feelings on the current Superion. But I just think Motormaster is a really decent toy, and as far as Menasor is concerned, I think the combining frame idea is brilliant, but it only works for Menasor, in my opinion, because it solves a couple problems with trying to get a G1 accurate Menasor. It's just the biggest problem is vehicle mode scale, which I'm not like a scale guy like Lazy Eyebrow or something, but I like everything to at least look okay, you know. And the problem with the G1 toys was that Motormaster turns into a truck and trailer, and all of his compatriots just turn into regular cars. And with the way the toys scale to each other, Motormaster is terribly undersized. So what they did was in Legacy was just make Motormaster the cab and have the trailer turn into a big frame. This means that Motormaster can be both truck and trailer and look good next to his teammates. Combiner Wars got around this by just making him the cab and forgoing the trailer entirely. Say what you will about that, but it was an okay idea to pursue. But there was a particular third-party toy that pioneered the frame idea for Menasor, and I thought it was freaking brilliant because it was just like, oh, it makes perfect sense for Menasor to be like this. And I got to say, it works on the Legacy version. Problem being, Hasbro wants to shove this solution to every other combiner, and it just don't work like that. You know, I don't. Seriously, they're giving freaking Silverbolt a Sky trailer. What the hell? What the hell?
Well, I mean, Kit. That's the only like combiner torso we've seen revealed since Motormaster thus far. For all we know, they could drop it or do something else entirely when they get to Onslaught.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, but I don't believe you. I can honestly see, because Onslaught, his original vehicle mode has a trailer. Technically, it was also integrated into his robot mode in G1, so I can see them doing the whole frame shit for Bruticus. But
it would have to work a bit differently though, because like off the top of my head, I believe the smaller components of Bruticus, unlike Menasor and Superion, are visible from the front. Like they plug in from the front, whereas with Menasor and Superion, the smaller bots plug into the back. And also, there's the fact that the lower legs and I don't know about the arms, but I know the lower legs are all solidly colored, so I don't know how they'll get around that with Onslaught.
Once again, I hope you're right. I just don't have a lot of faith in Hasbro. But I will say, for Menasor, at the very least, it worked for Menasor, and it worked well for Menasor. And Motormaster was just a very fun figure to mess around with. My next pick is Deluxe Gears from the Legacy United line. I was initially going to skip this one entirely, just because I thought his vehicle mode looked a bit crap. But as with all things, I caved. Put that nickel in the jar. And he's terribly decent. I hate how much I like him. Like, his transformation is really nice, and his blue plastic, both his blue and red plastic just look delicious. Like they're made out of popsicles.
Yeah, I remember, like, in the extracurricular in which we covered the wave that he was in, you were pretty visceral towards him.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, his Vilcamon still looks pretty bad from certain angles, but not... Honestly, a fair comparison would be made to like someone like Hoist. Their vehicle modes look about as bad as each other, and Hoist is fine. So Gears is fine, but he's just nice, and he's a nice size. He's small, but he is very hefty for a deluxe. He feels dense, and he goes great with Brawn, Studio Series Brawn. So I like him a lot more than I ever expected to. My third pick is Animated Optimus Prime. Really, it should be Animated Motormaster. I like him a little more, but I already picked another Motormaster, so I didn't want two Motormasters up here. But it's just a very solid toy. I never had the Animated Optimus mold. I only have very few, like maybe a half dozen animated toys at best. And Optimus was not one of them. So it's nice to get like a version of this design. And this design has a very interesting transformation. Basically, like his entire torso just like unfurls and recoalesces in a different orientation, which is what I like to see in a Transformer. He's nicely posable. He's very stylistically distinct from the rest of Legacy. You can definitely tell that he's Animated Optimus, even though he has a slight G1 filter. And And his accessory is really cool. I like it. Finally, to round it out, I put Armada Jolt on here, the only mini-con that was released under the Legacy banner. And it is a very solid mini-con. They remembered how to make mini-cons again. And he can stand up. He has heels and everything that you can flip out.
Suck it, Universe Jolt.
And Armada Jolt, for that matter. He's just super solid, and I wish they made more of these things. Like, I'm not like, it's not just, oh, these toys feel incomplete without the mini-cons. It's just like, the mini-cons they did make are good. These mini-cons are good. They remembered how to make them. You know?
Oh, God, if I
want more.
If I hear the Ramjet speech for Tidal Wave one more fucking time, I'm gonna lose it.
No, but I'm serious. Like, imagine how, like, if it's as good as Jolt, imagine how much fun a Ramjet would be on Tidal Wave. And imagine how much fun Ramjet would be on his own.
If I may comment on your picks, well, I mean, I can't really say much on Jolt because I don't have him yet. I have animated Motormaster because he, like I think I said last episode, he's one of those molds where I like the mold, but I was holding off for a version of it in a superior deco, or at least a deco that isn't just one of the regulars we have a billion toys of already. And Motormaster was that figure for me.
Oh yeah, his colors sing. I love it.
Gears, I will concede that his vehicle mode isn't great. There are unfortunately a lot of vehicle modes in Legacy that take quite a hit. Like Gears was one. Animated Prowl is another I can think of.
Oh yeah. For the record, while we're talking about that mold, I liked it a bit more as Chromia than as Prowl.
I don't think it suits Cyberverse Chromia that well.
I don't care if it's Cyberverse Chromia, it's just Chromia to me.
I
like it.
I'm sure there was another one. Iguanus, like, I know it's a core class figure, but like, a lot of his robot is exposed in the bike mode. Let's not fool ourselves.
Yeah. I'm willing to give those, like, I'm willing to give the core class Pretender updates a pass, just because, you know, the Pretenders in G1 turned into nothing, and now they have to deal with turning the outer shell into the inner inner vehicle mode, which is just kind of a recipe for disaster. But they're still fun toys at the end of the day, so I'm willing to give them a pass. What I won't give a pass for is Skullgrin. I didn't put him on my list.
I can think of another one that took a bit of a hit. Metal Hawk.
Yeah.
That jet mode is kind of iffy to me because of the exposed shoulders.
Yeah, it's mostly just the colors that suck. Like, they're just all over the place. It's not very cohesive.
And as for the Commander class Motormaster, I really like it. I will say that he is unfortunately a victim of photo degradation.
Oh, is he?
Yes. I suspect, like, I need to double check, but I think the trailer is where he takes the hit.
Ooh, I'll have to check mine when I unpack it.
And I think even the cab, like, obviously this is a thing with plastic, but can it affect how a paint application looks?
I'm not sure.
Because I think on my copy, the silver on like one side of his grill has dulled a little bit on mine.
Was it always like that?
To be fair, I didn't really see if it was like that out of the box, because I trust that the toys are at least competently made to some extent.
Yeah, like devil's advocate here, it could have just been like an application error or something. Like, it didn't go on thick enough. But one toy that I do know is suffering from yellowing that I own is I think it was Kingdom Artfire. You know, the Earthrise grapple retool, the selects version.
That's
He's
Inferno.
yellowing
It's of
pretty.
Inferno, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the Inferno repaint. He is yellowing pretty badly, but his white paint is still pristine. So I'm not sure what the process is for paint applications. Though Motormaster does have a bigger problem than that, which is his shoulders break.
Really?
Yeah, both of mine are broken. The hinges that I can't exactly remember it, but like if I look at them, I'll be able to find exactly what hinge it is. But the one side snaps because there's just too much pressure. It doesn't like fall off or anything, but it's not pretty and it's not great when it happens to you.
I will say in regards to Motormaster, I can kind of see why people wouldn't necessarily be a fan of the frame, the combiner frame that they came up with for these Legacy Stunticons, because, well, I guess that people just find the Combiner Wars designs a bit more, like, is inclusive the right word or intuitive? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that with the combiner frame, the individual or the smaller Stunticons rather feel more decorative. They don't feel like they contribute as much.
Yes, that is true. That is true. You can just buy Motormaster and get everything you need out of Minosaur, except the silhouette.
It doesn't particularly help that team that they just, copped out when it came to Breakdown.
Yeah, I'm not terribly upset about Breakdown. It just is what it is. At least they gave him the proper head, but I'm not going to argue too terribly loudly with people who don't like Breakdown. But for me, it's it is what it is.
I mean, I'm not as bothered by it, but I will admit it does feel like kind of a it does feel like kind of a cop out to an extent, but at the same time, like I think I said in my video on him, it's no surprise since even the Generation 1 Stunticon toys were designed fairly similarly.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that there be at least one retool, but still, a new mold wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Especially since they're putting out G2 repaints of all of these guys now.
Yeah, they still have yet to do Wild Rider and Motormaster for that set.
Yeah.
But it's been like 5 years since they started that, isn't it?
Something like that.
Well, 3 actually, but it feels like 5.
How time flies and how it doesn't. Let's move on to your favorite, shall we?
Okay. So I'll be
Whoa,
honest.
shocker.
Yeah, I'll be honest. A lot of Legacy's figures were just fine. They didn't wow me, but for what they were going for, they worked well enough. That said, no surprise, a good chunk of my favorites are the various Beast Wars updates they did. Tarantulas, Inferno, Leo Prime, Transmetal 2 Megatron, Tigerhawk, Silverbolt, Tasmania Kid, and all the various recolors they did for exclusives. But none of them top the Emperor of Destruction himself, Magmatron.
Ooh, yes.
These figures continue the trend started in Kingdom, where the beast modes were sculpted closer to the actual animal, but the robots were still faithful renditions of the characters. I will say, the Antagony recolor of Inferno they did for Selects looks a bit boring. I mean, great to see BotCon characters, but I wouldn't have minded a more gradient purple on that figure instead of being mostly solid black.
That toy definitely did a lot more purple and lilac.
Though I will say that the bonus scavenger head she came with, that was cool. But seriously, Magmatron is something else. Given the character's design, I think those who actually had hopes of him getting a new toy expected him to be a HasLab. Glad to have been proven wrong.
Yeah, Hasbro just... I gotta say, Commander Class has just been banger after banger after banger since Jetfire. I own every single Commander class figure so far, except for Ultra Magnus, which I do have on pre-order. But I have to say, every single Commander class that I own has been pretty good.
Yep.
And
Magmatron.
Magmatron especially has been really good.
Yeah. Solid construction and articulation, crisp detailing, top paint work. There's that weird Magmasaurus mode that they worked in. The 3 components even have spark crystals. It's the little things, people. And
It is.
if nothing else, it's nice that the Japanese Beast Wars cast is getting more love.
Yeah, it really is heartening to see Hasbro put so much faith into these characters by, just putting them out at mass release for starters, and also dedicating the year's Commander class to one. Especially,
go on.
Just like, I don't know. Also in the same year as another Japanese Beast Wars character. Well, actually, they had 3 Japanese Beast Wars characters in Legacy United. Now that I think about it, they had Tasmania Kid, Leo Prime, and Magmatron all in the same year. It was a good year.
Leo Prime was actually Evolution the year before.
Oh.
But
I'm gonna go kill myself now.
With Leo Prime, of course, they are doing that recolor for the well, more than a recolor. They're doing a retool that is more anime inspired for this T-Spark series of figures that they're doing.
Yeah, eventually. Did you hear it got a pushback?
I did not.
Yeah.
I mean, I have the original Leo Prime, so I'm fine for now. And of course, it's cool that they even did Nemesis Leo Prime.
Yeah, Copy Convoy. That's oh god, that was a deep cut. Well, maybe not like a deep cut, but like for a toy line outside of Japan, just it was kind of a deep cut to reference one episode of a show hardly anyone over here watched,
or could watch.
Yeah, I mean, fan subs are on YouTube, but
well,
how many people know about that?
Like, and you know what? Well, you know what would be an even deeper cut? Like, would even be a deeper cut if they did, like the Nemesis Leo Prime that they did was, of course, animation accurate, being mostly dark gray with a black mane. If they reversed those colors and retooled Kingdom Eraser accordingly, we could have gotten. We could get an Amber Leo Prime and Blue Bolt 2-pack.
Oh yeah, from the manga. What manga? Legends manga, or is it something else?
It was a manga. Let's just leave it at that.
Sakamoto-san drew it. That's all I knew. But yeah, all of the Beast characters got some pretty decent toys. Silverbolt is pretty decent. I'm not a terribly big fan of Tigerhawk. I just think he's a little, I don't know if basic is the right word, but I don't know. He just doesn't seem to have enough bells and whistles for leader class. He's just big. That's it. Leo Prime was pretty good. I like him. He has a very interesting asymmetric transformation. And Inferno was a delight to receive. I had the hardest time finding him because I only saw him in stores twice, 2 separate occasions, and the second time was the time I bought him. As soon as I bought him, never seen again.
How ironic for the character that previously shelf warmed.
Yeah, yeah. They probably short packed him just to make sure that didn't happen again.
Yeah, we didn't get any fucking ant colonies this time. A couple things as well before I move on. Apparently, there are rumors going around that there'll be a new big convoy, except this one will be made to order, not a HasLab, but made to order.
Interesting. Hopefully I'll be able to get mine when that happens.
And also, there's the fact that next year, will be Beast Wars 30th anniversary. And I just wonder if they're saving a bunch of obvious recolors that they should have done by now for then, like Windrazor from Silverbolt and Double Punch from, admittedly, different trilogy, Kingdom Scorponok, but still.
Maybe they'll make that Polar Claw you've been itching for.
Yeah, it's weird how Polar Claw has such a cult following.
It's you. You're the cult leader.
I'll tell you what. If the reasoning they give is he wasn't in a cartoon, so he'd be hard to pull off. I just have one solution to that: survive. But anyway, moving along. Outside of the Beast Wars updates, I picked Voyager class Tarn, who recently got a package refresh. Now we have a case of didn't think he'd get an official figure, full stop, since the Decepticon Justice Division are not exactly the most kid-friendly characters. Luckily, for me anyway, Tarn turned out great. The robot isn't quite as buff as he is in the comics, but he's got the details, the posability, multiple weapon configurations. Oh, but he turns into a nothing. Oh, but no. Sit down. He has a front plate of sorts, sets of treads, multiple gun barrels, 2 of which are on a rotating turret. It's a Cybertronian tank. It's
I think his biggest problem is just the exposed hands and lack of wheels that does it for me. But
yeah, it's not perfect, I'll admit. The hands could actually store away, like you said, and some rolling wheels would have been nice, but other than that, I'd say it's pretty convincing. It helps that we actually see his alt mode several times in the comics, so they at least had something to go off of.
Yeah, I never managed to get my hands on a Tarn, but I do have Bludgeon, and he's decent. I like the way that the treads that are part of his torso spin around. I like that. That stuck with me.
Yeah, this mod has had its fair share of uses. We've got 2 versions of Bludgeon and also 2 versions of Tarn. That Cyberverse recolor they did, which pretty lackluster as recolors go.
Yeah, I've seen it in person. It doesn't look that great. It's just I just don't like that much red on him.
It doesn't even have the crack in the mask that makes him distinct. But anyway, I will say, in a Q&A at the recent MegaCon, there's word of them wanting to do the rest of the DJD. How I don't know, since most of them turn into literal torture devices.
Yeah, that was I couldn't remember if that was something they actually said or not, but I do remember saying that they're just trying to figure out the best way to give them some real alt modes.
I mean, the thing is, Nickel. They brought up Nickel, even though the size class that would be most appropriate for her is now dead. And as grim as this would be, I think they've also mentioned wanting to do the pet. Do you even know what the pet is?
Only vaguely. I know that Mastermind Creations made a toy of it, but I never read those comics, so
yeah. I won't spoil. I won't spoil it all for those who haven't read them, but who the pet actually is, it's not pretty.
I know he's a guy. That's all I know.
But anyway, moving on. Like I think I touched on before, the Legacy Stunticons are a mixed bag. I know some aren't a fan of the way they combine, as we previously discussed, but with how rock solid Menasor feels, I'd say it has its advantages.
Yeah. The only one I truly dislike is Dead End.
As has been discussed just a moment ago, Commander Class Motor Master is stellar. Well, I think he's stellar. Photo degradation notwithstanding. I feel Wild Rider and Breakdown are overhated, but I'll concede they could have done better in terms of kibble management. Seriously, folding those fenders down to form a fucking cape, really?
At least it doesn't look that bad when it's just as a regular backpack.
And I personally would put Dead End on my favorite slide if not for his iffy leg design. But that just leaves Dragstrip, who I'd say is the most well thought out of the smaller Stunticons. Cool vehicle mode, fun transformation, posable robot that is generally cartoon accurate. Perhaps to a fault, as the character's color palette is admittedly plain, being mostly solid yellow. But if you can overlook that, I'd say he's the one deluxe Stunticon I'd get if you weren't planning on completing Menasor. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, it's a shame that they released him Wave 1 because he set the standards way too high for everyone else. But yeah, I really do like Dragstrip. Out of the four limbs, he is far and away my most favorite, and that's not just because I'm a whore for Formula One. He's just decent. I wish they would make a blue version. I want him in blue.
Finally, and I was trying to avoid including retools of toys from past trilogies to give others a chance, but I'm sorry. I really like Star Raider Filch, who is like we've said is a retool of Kingdom Airraiser. They turned the Falcon into a crow. It's a metallic beast mode, though they kept some of Airraiser's organic feathers. I like the multi-purple deco. The new heads are spot on. The wings don't flow quite as well since the outer wings are separate pieces, but hey, they just make for cool blade weapons in robot mode.
Yeah.
If I want to include honorable mentions, I'll say Deluxe Cosmos. I had no problems acquiring him when he was first released. He continues the small deluxe trend used for mini bots, as was the case with Gears. But I can't find much fault in him outside of the flying saucer body perhaps being a bit too tall.
Yeah, it just looks a little funky.
Voyager animated Motor Master. I mean, I didn't put him on the slide because I haven't had him for too long, so I thought maybe it was just too soon. But I definitely, like I said, I definitely prefer his deco over Optimus, and they nailed that funky head sculpt. The mold in general, I feel, captures the anime aesthetic a lot better than Prowl, in my opinion. And lastly, Voyager G2 Jahaxus. First time adapting that design, and they mostly nailed it. They had to reimagine the jet mode a bit, for the better, I'd say. The toy isn't flawless. The arms are just underneath the jet. The cockpit isn't covered from below. And thanks to his photo degradation, it looks like he's fucking wet himself. I gotta ask though, Kit. Since I listed my honorable mentions, do you have any of your own?
Not particularly. They're mostly just like repaints that I liked. Cannonball was decent. As much as I don't really like the what Crankcase had done to the skids mold, Cannonball manages to fix it up pretty well. Cybertron Hotshot, I quite enjoy him. He's the only one of the Cybertron updates I actually enjoy, like, at all. Let's see. I like that. I like the funky Mango Sunset repaint of Siege Sideswipe that they put out.
You mean from the Toxitron collection?
Yes, that one. I like G1 Twincast. That blaster mold looks great in blue and white. The Skyquake and Dreadwing mold is pretty neat. And it looks, and if I had to pick one of the two, I'd have to say Dreadwing. He just looks cooler in that color scheme. And let me take one more look. Yeah, And I guess, I guess Cybertron Override would be the other one that I like. But I only really like her robot mode.
I do want to address this for those watching. If you don't see a figure you like on these slides, there is a possibility that we just don't have that one. Like, I know, Kit, you have the Titan class Cybertron Metroplex, but I don't own any of the Titan class figures. I mean, not that I would put Cybertron Metroplex on this list because I fucking hate character's vehicle mode.
I wouldn't put him on this list either. I just like him because he's big and he has a big weapon. And I got him for half price.
I will say, though, that there were a couple others that might raise some eyebrows due to their absence. I mean, I don't have the Commander class Armada Prime, which is why he's not on here, even though he's proven very popular to a lot of people.
Yeah,
but
like I said, Commander class has been nothing but bangers, but even so, I still don't think he's as good as either Motormaster or Magmatron.
Fair enough. And another one I'm thinking of is Rescue Bots Chase.
I wanted to put him on my list, but it's just he just looks great in both modes. Actually getting between them kind of sucks. It's just a really weird, and not weird in a good way, transformation. Things just clash a lot in my experience, and it's just not very fun. And that really dampens my opinion of him.
Yeah, I will say the main problem I have with Rescue Bots Chase is his shoulders don't lock into place, and the shoulder motion is blocked by those exhaust pieces on his back.
Yeah, those are the big culprits.
I will say that we are getting Heat Wave in Age of the Primes, and going back to that bulkhead we were talking about, it's one of those cases where Heat Wave was who this mold was designed for, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he does look great. I don't know if I'm gonna get him, but he does look great for what he is. Anyway, shall we take a trip back to the more negative side of things?
Yes, let's get cynical.
Drop dead cynical. Let's go to our least favorites, and some of these might be a bit controversial. I hate both versions of Starscream that Legacy gave us. Armada Starscream was the first one we got in Legacy Year 1. And I just don't like him. He doesn't have landing gear in vehicle mode, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it is a good place to start. The legs don't seem to tab together very well with each other or the rest of the vehicle mode, so everything just sort of feels floppy. And that floppiness extends to robot mode, where the arms are on just these weak, pitiful pin joints that just slide around. He doesn't even look that good. His proportions are a bit stiff and stilted, and his like the wings are just way too. I don't know if broad is the right word, because that implies wingspan, but I'm just saying, from top to bottom, they look too thick. In vehicle mode, I do like how it has the sort of accurate minicon gimmick, even though he doesn't have a minicon. But let's ignore that. He comes with a Star Saber and he comes with his own sword, but he doesn't do the play pattern thing with the sword, which is extremely disappointing. Like, if you're not going to come with a minicon, at least do the sword thing right.
Yeah, that I will say that Starscream was the first. Maybe Red Flag is a bit too strong, but he didn't. I mean, obviously he didn't come with his minicon, but he doesn't even have a minicon port.
That is true. He doesn't. So I was just terribly disappointed with this toy. I did not end up getting the repaint, and I have no intention to. And my disappointment with this toy led me to picking up the Mechanical Skull Studios version that I reviewed with Definitely Not Char. And I think that's where I'll be going for my future Armada updates. Cybertron Starscream is probably the most controversial pick on mine because everyone and their mother seems to love it, but I like it even less than the Armada version. I hate it. It's a miserable thing. It's a miserable thing. It looks like shit. The gray plastic is lifeless and sucks all of the detail out of him. He doesn't have enough red paint to liven up the detail, especially on his legs. They're just bare gray plastic from what you can see right there between the swords on the slide. His articulation's decent, I'll give you that, but that's not everything when it comes to a toy. The swords are just pitiful, and their housing is super, super hollow and flimsy feeling and looking. And the transformation is decent, I guess, but the vehicle mode is just... That's where, like... I wasn't entirely pleased with the robot mode, but as soon as I transformed it into vehicle mode for the first time, that's when I got a distinct feeling of buyer's remorse. And it's just this lumpen, misshapen abomination, really. It's just awful. It's just awful. Small plus, he does come with a key. That's something that Override didn't do, and that's something that pretty much every Cybertron update since then has done, I think. So that's nice. But
except Vector Prime.
No, Vector Prime has one. Vector Prime has one. Yeah. Honestly, as much as I talk shit about Vector Prime, I like Vector Prime more because he at least has decent paint. You know, he doesn't look lifeless. He looks soulless. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't look lifeless like Starscream does. And oh my god, I just hate this thing. I hate this thing. It's by far my least favorite Cybertron update. And oh, I know it's going to be repainted into a Skywarp. I'm skipping it. I'm sorry. I will not entertain the possibility of me owning a second one of these things. I ended up getting a used copy of Make Toys Galaxy Meteor shortly after this, and it was such a breath of fresh air. I also ended up getting a vintage Galaxy Force Starscream from Japan not long after that too. So I'm eating when it comes to Cybertron Starscream, but I'm not eating this toy. I guess that's enough Starscream bashing. Next up, if everyone who's on my server knows I was going to pick this one, it's Legacy Crankcase. I just didn't like him. It ruined everything I liked about the Skids mold. The vehicle mode just looked extremely plain and flimsy. The side panels didn't like they didn't feel secure. They felt cheap. Like, yeah, that's the word I would describe to describe. That's the word I would use to describe Crankcase, is that he just feels cheap. He just feels cheap. Cannonball does it better. It kind of rectifies things a little bit. He feels better. He holds together a bit better. He's more stylish. Crankcase deserved better. I love random Decepticon jobbers, but this one just sucks. This one just sucks, plain and simple. And finally, the last toys that I have on here are Laser Optimus and RID Scourge from the Velocitron subline. I do own Toxitron as well. Don't ask why I have 3 copies of a toy I don't like. I am stupid. So there's your answer.
Well, I mean, Toxitron is based off a cancelled universe.
Yeah,
so there's at least some level of intrigue with him.
I left Toxitron off the list on purpose because if I were to keep just one of these, it would be Toxitron hands down. He'd just be the obvious one to keep because there's the novelty of being a previously canceled toy given new life through Chug. But Laser Optimus is just really disappointing. I think Char has spoken at length on this mold before on this show.
Oh
If
yes,
I
if you want his full thoughts on this mold, check out episode 7 of the Chugcratic seminar where he picks Laser Prime as an underhated toy.
and I agree with a lot of his sentiments there, and I put Scourge on the list as well just because he was disappointing. His like half the appeal of Scourge is his color scheme, and this version just ruins it with all of this unpainted clear red plastic when he's not supposed to have that much red. It's just like his sword and his eyes. He should be like Scourge um, thrives on his cool color scheme, and I think the red not only just looks bad where it is, but also just warms it up too much. I don't like it. He needs more. He needs more cold grays and cold teals and a cold black, not these warm colors. Um, similar to the Starscreams, I ended up getting the vintage version of RID Scourge sometime last year. And if I end up doing a top 10 of 2024, he would be on the list. So the Scourge is just disappointing, and Laser Optimus is just not great.
Going through my thoughts on these figures, my experience with that Armada Starscream is soured by the fact that the mushroom joints, like the mushroom swivels on my copy on the legs, when you rotate them for transformation, they have a tendency to move out of place.
Yeah, I had a similar problem on both instances of the animated Optimus mold. Like both Optimus and Motormaster had that problem, but the rest of the toy was good enough for me to not care so much.
But yeah, I just think he's okay. Not horrible, but not great either. Just
Do you have the Throwing 30 version?
no.
I think he's better.
If I'm going to get any copy, it will be the Collectors Club Sky Warp, so I'm out of luck. As for Cybertron Starscream, I clearly like him more than you do. But
everyone does.
But like I said, I don't necessarily think he's great, but I like him well enough. I mean, the one thing you could say he does better than Galaxy Force, well, the original Cybertron Voyager class Starscream, is that the hollowness at the back of the legs is covered up, unlike the original. And of course, better articulated in certain places, which I know articulation isn't everything, but sometimes articulation allows certain characterful designs to be even more expressive.
Yeah, at the very least, he can do the cross swords pose that he did in the show a lot.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing you dislike certain figures, considering how much fun you have getting them into poses for your thumbnails.
To be fair, I did copy someone else who had already done that.
Well, I know, but the mere fact that you chose to do it.
Hey, I got to make each toy look as cool as possible, even if they suck.
There is a chance that I'll be picking up that Sky Warp they're doing for the Cybertron capsule line, along with a certain other robot. But Crankcase,
new channel mascot.
Exactly. Crankcase, for me, he just falls in the okay category. I'm not too big of a fan of how that entire grill and headlight assembly just pops off and forms the most half-assed gun ever.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. That was the least of my concerns.
But beyond that, he was an okay retool of a mold that, again, was just all right.
Yeah.
And as for the laser prime mold, I only have the Scourge. There is a chance that I would pick up the Toxitron redeco himself for the like I said, the special, like basically for the novelty of him being a cancelled universe toy. Like I said, you know, the problem I have with the laser prime, and for some reason this is a recurring problem with multiple legacy leader class toys, is that the shoulder pads are fucking static.
Yeah, the chug shoulders, as Char calls them.
Like, they did this with Laser Prime, they did this with Blitzwing, they did this with Armada Megatron. I'm probably sure there's more, but I can't think of any right now.
They will do so again.
I do want to bring up that this figure was so I imagine this figure was so disappointing for you that you were initially planning to review this for review number 194, but it got cancelled.
Yeah, I honestly don't really remember what happened, why I chose not to do it. I think I just got like burnout.
You said you said you got bored, but you know what? I have a solution. A collab between you and Char.
The thing is, we had just done a collab before that because he was in my Selects Megatron review, number 193, and he was in the serious review videos before that. So I thought we would take a break.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, when you actually think, like, even remotely think about reviewing this mold, that could be one where you both do a full-on collab.
Yeah, maybe once he starts actually reviewing like his metal card bots on YouTube, I could show up on his channel instead.
The other problem with the Legacy Prime mold is that, well, I believe it reuses parts from Earthrise Prime.
Yes, which in turn reuses parts from Siege, and it's just turtles all the way down.
Why, why did they not just make a brand new mold from scratch? Like the legacy, not legacy, the original G2 Laser Prime / Robots in Disguise Scourge, from what I hear, is a highly popular toy. And with this, it just seemed like they...
Good reason.
Yeah, and they essentially, well, I would say fixed what wasn't broken, but they actively made certain things worse.
The worst part is that the reasons that I hate the toy have nothing to do with the reused parts. It's all the original stuff. Like, the torso is too short, the arms are too skinny, the shoulders don't move. It's all the original stuff. Like it doesn't even really matter that they reused so much of that. They basically just reused the bottom half of Earthrise Optimus because the rest of it is just so much worse.
Yeah, I gotta agree with the skinny arms.
They also rotate in a very weird spot. Like if you rotate it, it'll get like misaligned. Like it's like the center of rotation is not in the center of the arm, is what I'm trying to say. It's weird. It's weird.
I don't know.
At this point, I'm nitpicking.
I can definitely see why it's underwhelming for a lot of people. I understand not including everything, like the artwork on the trailer of Optimus Prime setting some trees on fire, but but you know, from what I understand, the original toy had a lot of fun features and a simple but effective transformation that resulted in a highly articulated toy, especially for the time.
Yeah, it is very. Like I said, I have Robots in Disguise Scourge, and one word that I could use to describe the toy is elegant.
I gotta get that. I gotta get that toy someday.
You do. I'd like to get the Laser Magnus version. That looks like such a good deco.
Before we get onto mine, I've got to nip away from my laptop for a moment. So if you want to take the time to discuss any dishonorable mentions you can.
All right. Let's see. Let's take a look in my folder. I don't want to step on Rune's toes as far as toys he's going to talk about. So I will try to refrain from mentioning those. Let's see. I this is cheating a little bit, but because it's a Kingdom mold, which is just a retool of Siege mold that was repainted for Legacy. But I hate Legacy Leadfoot, the one that came with the mammoth skeleton. I hate it. It's a terrible toy. The car mode looks like shit. It transforms like shit. Robot mode's fine, I guess, but it's just bad. It's just really, really bad. What else don't I like? Let's look at evolution. What's in here? What is in here? Yes, it is the Mirage mold, Garrett. Yeah, I hate the Mirage mold. It's so bad. Let's see. No, I have a decent opinion of everything from evolution.
Okay, I'm back. What have you listed?
So far, I only talked about Leadfoot, the Mirage repaint. I just really hate it. But since you're back, I want to talk about something extremely controversial.
I think it's more controversial when you don't have a controversial opinion.
True. I do not like Victory Saber very much.
Didn't you touch on that in, again, episode 7 when you were discussing overrated?
Yes, but I felt like it was important to mention it again. My opinion still holds true. I don't like it very much. It's just not very fun, and it feels cheap for what's supposed to be this premium made-to-order toy. It feels worse than some retail figures, you know? Can I have Victory Saber kids? Maybe. I'd like to review it first, but maybe for the right price.
Yeah, I don't have that set, so I can't really comment on it much, and I don't have Deathsaurus either.
From what I hear, Deathsaurus is far and away better. But I never got him. I was broke when I got him. I'm broke now, so I'm not backing well, I mean, even if I had all the money in the world, I wouldn't back Leo Kaiser either, so.
Didn't you say that your copy had a hair underneath the chrome?
Yes, it does. It does. There's a hair stuck under the chrome on Starsaber's chest. It's gross. But yeah, that's about it. For everything else, it's I either don't have strong opinions or I actually like the toy. So I went out of my way to not step on to not mention any of the toys you were going to talk about. So we should probably move on to that.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, had more of us been here, I would have allowed it that we could all share a figure across the slide. But since there's only 2 of us, I guess we don't really have that problem.
To be fair, on this slide, the only one that I would have talked about with any sort of visceral response is Blitzwing. I skipped over Sideburn intentionally. And for the rest, I just don't hate them for some reason or another.
I mean, for me, keep in mind that despite me listing these figures on here, these are the worst toys ever. They just fall short one way or another. I'll start with the Deluxe Armada Hotshot. He's one of those Hotshot, or at least the Armada design, is one of those that looks really cool, but no toy of him has particularly excelled. Like, the original Armada figure has the most dynamic gimmicks, though the robot suffers a fair bit from them. Though, to be fair, you have a nice, sleek sports car mode, Jolt's a decent minicom, and the interactivity between them works.
Mm-hmm.
Universe Hotshot looks a bit better in both modes. Unfortunately, none of the previous gimmicks are there. Like, there's no Axel Zuka. This one is just more of a standard action figure. But good lord, that transformation is clumsy as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
the clearance is not great.
There was an idea.
Plus, they omitted the twin launchers from the American release and covered up a gap in the rear bumper, meaning the back kibble couldn't be arranged properly, and his jolt can't stand for shit.
Mm-mm. No, he can't.
But as for Legacy's take on Armada Hotshot, man, talk about so close, yet so far in several ways. Some say the sports car mode is too squat. I honestly can't see it. For me, the bigger problem is how the windshield / roof pieces are cast in clear blue and then thinly painted yellow. Yellow is just a color they rarely seem to get right on these toys. And those pieces hurt the robot mode too, as they contribute to his shoddy lower leg construction. Those parts just hang off the back on ball joints, they don't peg into place that well, and they hinder the knees. The rest of him definitely looks the part. He's still got the race car driver motive. They worked the Axel Zuka back in. He can even handhold it now if you combine it with his engine gun. And, well, we know you have to get the Power Links redecor if you want Legacy Jolt.
And the worst part is that there's no Power Links Jolt either. We'll probably never get that.
Just to me, just some small tweaks could have made this the best Armada Hotshot we have ever gotten. I have no doubt that if ID was in this episode, he would pick Leader Blitzwing in a heartbeat. Personally, I don't hate him like you three do, but
frankly, I don't hate him as viscerally as ID Armed and Char do, but that's because I got mine as a gift, and I know for a fact that the person who bought it for me bought it on sale. So that's like the least amount of money wasted.
But even so, I'll admit, he's not great. Chunks of tank under the jet. I'm not as bothered by the tank chode, but some things are better left.
Please never say that word again.
Why? Is it just weird coming from me?
Yes.
Mate, you three are the ones who keep like throwing all this fucking Zoomer talk in my direction. But anyway, but my point.
How it feels?
What?
Is this how it feels?
Yes. But point being, some things are better left in the cartoon. There's also the iffy colors. It's as if Blitzwing is being viewed through a warm filter on a camera. Static shoulder pads in robot mode that hinder movement. I know triple changes aren't the easiest figures to pull off due to how much goes into them, and yet Legends Blitzwing from years prior easily surpasses him.
Yeah, and even keeping as far as Legacy goes, you know, Sandstorm's not perfect, but he's leagues better ahead of better than Blitzwing, and I'd say he's even more interesting than Astro Train. But you know, I guess that depends on how I'm feeling on a certain day.
I still got to do that extracurricular on Legends Blitzwing.
Toy Talk.
Sorry, what?
Toy Talk.
Yeah, Toy Talk. Oh, and another thing about the Legacy figure. What the fuck were those giant gauntlets?
Do you remember when everyone was theorizing that they were for Menasor? I remember that.
Compatible with him?
No. Not like the way you expect, no.
Yeah, I just have one thing to say to that. What were they thinking?
He said it. He said the line.
Oh, God. What is my life? Anyway, G2 Road Rocket is my next pick. Like we said, this mold was first released as Prime RC, though with how the front wheel splits open and can plug... Yes, Garrett, thank you. But with how the front wheel splits open and can plug into the back, creating the wheels over the shoulders silhouette, it's safe to say that it was at least partially designed with Road Rocket in mind. Unfortunately, yes, Overcharge still bloody has them. Unfortunately, the alt mode isn't the best. The limbs are poorly disguised. Like, I know motorcycles are hard to work with due to how slim they are, but we've had better looking motorcycles long before this mold was made, including for Prime RC, by the way.
I
And
still love the Prime RID figure.
yeah, I really like that one. As for the robot mode, whether or not the windshield was intended to be removable, it comes off way too easily for comfort.
Yes.
Though that could, I mean, maybe it's just mine, or is it a problem with yours as well?
No, it's a problem with mine too.
As yeah, and then there's the, and like I said, well, no, I need to get to that part, but the rear wheel halves hanging off the legs look messy. Split open, the aforementioned front wheel forms a lame energon blaster. It isn't even painted like with Prime RC. The knees peg in poorly. To bend the legs, you have to hold the lower leg at the back, or else they'll disconnect. There's just lots of little things about that toy that bug me, and I don't plan on getting any other versions of it right now. Point Blank with Peacemaker. I reviewed them last year. If you want my full thoughts, all I'll say is, you know how some comment that certain figures need to go back to the drawing board or needed some revisions before they hit shelves? Be careful what you wish for, as we actually saw those revisions with this set, and in turn, everything we lost because of them. At this point, I'd have gone with the Deluxe Plus approach if it meant getting a better toy. Point Blank is definitely one of the more tragic releases in this trilogy.
Yeah, it's like they were baking a cake and they left it in the oven too long and it deflated as a result of that. And now no one likes the cake.
Like Armada Hotshot, RID Sideburn has an interesting design that just doesn't seem to translate well into toys. The original had a sweet, sweet vehicle mode, being a nice rendition of the Dodge Viper, but both the transformation and resulting robot mode are inelegant kibbly messes. It's easily the least refined of the Autobot brothers.
I still love him.
Sadly, the Legacy Deluxe doesn't fare much better. The car is malformed, half-asses the flame decals, and the rear doesn't peg together that well. I like some parts of the transformation. The robot is a bit more polished than the originals, and it's kind of neat how the roof shield can be used on either arm instead of being permanently stuck to the left. Downside, you lose that piece, you're out of toy. And despite the reduced kibble, the posability is actually worse due to the limited motion on some joints like the knees. The shoulders are also oddly oriented and don't allow the arms to swing back. I'm also not thrilled that this mold was used for Cyberverse Shadow Striker, especially since her entire shtick was being a mishmash of parts. I mean, it's not like there was an entire subgroup of Transformers in Legacy Evolution that were all about mixing and matching. Toyline and Roadpig as Junkion retools, perfectly fine, but the con that actually fits this play pattern? Off the fucking table! And finally, there's Deluxe Skullgrin. There are several ways one could modernize the Pretender characters. Typically, they blend elements of both the Pretender shell and inner robot, as was done here. Sadly, this one isn't great. The use of soft plastic is obnoxious. From the horns, like the left-hand one on mine is warped on its friction hinge, to those bloody swords. Like, I have no clue why the swords were cast in that soft plastic, because they don't even look that sharp. And the robot mode, the the robot mode blending the shell's skull head with most of the original toys in a robot, that's kind of cool, I suppose. But then you transform him, and that Cybertronian tank mode is half-baked. And I do mean half. Because
I I have to say, my first impression of the mold when I got Skullgrin was that this was the most effort that I had ever seen put into a transformation where the final result was nothing.
well, I mean, for me, the rear portion is fine with the treads, turret, and gun barrels, but the front, literally just the robot legs sandwiched together with the feet pointing forward. I understand that it's supposedly trying to mimic the original toy's tank mode, which is not something I'd inspire to be, honestly, since the vehicle modes of a lot of those G1 inner robots were the definition of arbitrary.
Mhm.
And to top it off, they had the absolutely genius idea to retool this into Quake, which fucked what is supposed to be an actual Earth tank. Like, I understand Quake is not a prolific character, and some might ask, if he got his own mold, who else would he be reused for? And to that, I say guzzle. But anyway, I'm done. What are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah. I actually like Hotshot a fair bit, but all of your criticisms ring true. I am in the camp where I say that his vehicle mode is just way too flat, and I think it has something to do with how tiny his wheels are compared to the rest of the car. It just makes him look extremely misproportioned. Um, but he does have his high points. I like the way that the spoiler becomes his shoulder pads. I like his arms. I like his torso and his head, and he still has the visor gimmick that his both of his previous toys had. For the record, he does not come with the Star Saber. I just felt appropriate to take the picture of him with it. It comes with Starscream instead. Blitzwing just straight up sucks, but I would disagree on his colors. I think his colors suit him pretty well. I like the very rich purple and the tan. I think the colors are fine, but the vehicle modes suck. But the robot mode at least looks decent. But he has the chug shoulders, so he goes into the trash. I already gave my piece on Skullgrin. I like him far more than he deserves. Really, because he just feels good in the hands. I like his big dumb cow head. And his transformation is stupid complex for turning into a brick, you know? Sideburn I skipped entirely because I could see the train wreck from a mile away. I did not want any piece of that. Point blank, I can't bring myself to hate him is about the best I can say. He just reminds me. He reminds me a little bit of Unicron trilogy toys, where they were all like a little crap in certain ways. It's just that Point Blank doesn't have a gimmick to make up for it. You know, I mean, you could call the Target Master a gimmick, but you know what I'm saying when I mean like Unicron trilogy gimmick to make up for it. And yeah, Road Rocket is not great. And the worst part is the whole silhouette of the split front wheel to form the shoulder pads that it was always meant to do. That's parts forming. You know, you can't do that for real. You know, like they designed this mold to do that, but they made it parts for him from the start. I don't get it. But yeah, these are all pretty solid picks for the bottom of the barrel.
Road Pig is easily better than Road Rocket.
That's faint praise. That is faint praise. I don't like Road Pig very much either.
Can I just add a couple things? Firstly, for Blitzwing, they did a dramatic capture recolor of him, and the colors on that one do look a bit better. we are getting a Studio Series 86 Astro Train, so I have no doubt that they'll potentially be re-releasing Blitzwing in Studio Series, possibly in the dramatic capture colors.
I see what you mean.
Also, don't you own a Legacy Evolution Cyberverse Shadow Striker?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No. I own Cyberverse Chromia, but not Shadow Striker.
Hmm.
Oh, I also have Blitz Beachcomber on pre-order. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah, what else was I going to say? For Skullgrin, they also did the Cybertronian Trooper for the that Legacy multi-pack.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Buzzworthy Bumblebee, actually.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter.
I mean, it's a nice companion piece for G2 Jaxa since they did him. Doesn't really fix any of the mold's problems, though.
No, and the lack of the skull head just makes him a bit worse than Skullgrin. I like Skullgrin a lot better.
One thing that I'd be interested if they did was if they recolored Hotshot into Smokescreen in reference to that cancelled Universe 2003 2-pack.
Yes, I would be interested in that. Like, imagine if they did like a Toxitron Part 2 and he was part of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was something else I was going to say. Like I know it's pretty it's not very popular, but it wouldn't exactly surprise me if they did a super mode sideburn.
Yeah, I could see them doing it.
I'd also wouldn't be surprised if they did the other Shadow Striker along with Roulette.
Mm-hmm. I'd skip all of them. But yeah, that brings us to an end for our picks. But if you're
hang on. Sorry.
Oh.
If I had any dishonorable mentions that weren't already covered by you, I mean, if we do include others covered by you, it would probably be Scourge, although I still think he's okay. Like, I don't feel too strongly one way or another about a lot of these legacy toys. Also, since I'm not the biggest fan of the Kingdom Scorponok mod, I guess you could include Predacon Sandstorm.
Yeah. Out of the ones you picked, I would have said Blitzwing above all of them.
But anyway, instead of Q&A, we asked our fellow students in Kit's Discord server to list their favorite and least favorite legacy figures.
Yes, if you're new to the show, every month you can join my Discord server linked in the description. And every month we have a Q&A session where we ask a question related to this month's topic, and you can submit your answers potentially to be included in the episode. So our first submission comes from DM Prime 17, a regular on this show. For his best, he said, Commander Armada Optimus Prime. This is an update of my childhood Optimus. His worst that he bought was Deluxe Skullgrin by default. He's a bit disappointing, especially the awkward use of softer plastic on the head, sword guns, and some of the internal hinges. He might not have messed with Quake yet, but he seems like an improvement, small as it might be. But the worst that he does not own is Titan Cybertron Metroplex. This toy uses both accuracy and inaccuracy as a crutch to make something I actively dislike. Had they decided to make the alt mode a full-on Bagger 288 excavator, like it seemed to be, it likely would have avoided this label I gave it. As it is, it's a massive misstep. Would you like to begin your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I can't on the Armada Optimus Prime because, like I said, I don't have him yet. That'll probably be a TF Nation purchase if I'm lucky. Let's see, Skullgrin. Well, I've already given my thoughts on him. And Metroplex. The one thing I will say about Metroplex is that the Legacy's take on his alt mode, quote unquote, is a little bit better since some parts are positioned differently to be better concealed.
Yeah, his transformation is slightly more involved than the vintage Cybertron version, but only slightly.
I can't add too much to that.
Yeah. I do have both Optimus and Metroplex, so I guess I will speak about them. Armada Optimus is fine. I was a bit disappointed in him just because he feels a little like the inner robot, or I guess inner isn't the right word, but you know what I mean. The smaller robot feels a little too big. But of course, if he were any smaller, it wouldn't work with the combine mode. The trailer doesn't really do enough to really satisfy me. It has a base mode, but it's nowhere near as, I guess, for lack of a better word, cool as the vintage version. I'm not a terrible fan of base modes in general, but it's definitely a step down from how playful the original was. It's definitely the main appeal is definitely combining the cab and the trailer together. So he's fine. He's fine. He does everything he needs to, and he does them pretty well, about as good as you can expect. So it's just out of the three commanders from Legacy, Armada Optimus is probably my least favorite, just because he's the one that I feel like playing with the least.
Do you think they'll do the Power Links redeco?
Eventually, I hope so.
You know what? I'd like to see this in Nemesis Prime colors.
That would be pretty sick. I'd have to skip that one though, I think. But as for Cybertron Metroplex, I think he's definitely one of the weakest Titans that I've seen. I only got him because I wanted, big Cybertron Metroplex. I love Cybertron Metroplex because he's big, and I got mine for half price. So just solid 100 for a toy that is big and has a big weapon. It's all right. Ironically, it's about the same price that I got the vintage version for, and even though the vintage is a lot smaller than the Titan, it is definitely a better toy. So if you're only after one of them, go for the vintage one, because he has Cyber Key gimmick, he has a mini con, but the Titan at least is bigger and is slightly more posable, but that doesn't really matter that much at that size. But I can see why people don't like it, and I'm fine with that. We have a second.
The next one is from I believe it's Needle Nose Enthusiast, Garrett, the Needle Nose Enthusiast.
Yeah, I wonder what toy he picked.
Yeah, I'll read off this one. Best Voyager Prime Bulkhead. I keep playing with him. Never had one bad experience yet. Deluxe Needle Nose. The underdog I've rooted for years. I like Needle Nose myself. Admittedly, his vehicle mode is a bit Universe Silverbolt-ish, but his transformation is thankfully more involved.
Yes. His transformation saves the toy.
Voyager Prime Thundertron, probably the most fun beast former let me just magnify this. Probably the most fun beast former I have, with how well he poses and best modifications I can pull. Is Garrett a customizer? Is that what he means by best modifications?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Sure, he's hollow, but that's okay. I have the multi-pack with Night Shriek and Calcitron. I like Thundertron. Funnily enough, he is one of the few Prime characters in this trilogy that wasn't distinctly G1ified. Worst, Deluxe Dead End. I just can't be happy with how his legs and hips are designed. Oh dear. Yeah, I don't like his leg construction myself. Core Bomb Burst. I do like this toy, but his kibble and wretch, I'm guessing he means the handheld weapon, doesn't look great from some angles. Core Geocron. Sword is too heavy. He can just barely hold it. The mold just turns into one thing, the sword, not a shoulder pad, crossbow, or scythe. Just one thing that doesn't fit with everyone.
Yeah, these are solid picks, I guess. Garrett is the reason why I own Needle Nose in the first place. I was planning on skipping him just because he looked pretty basic and boring. But he was posting some pictures in my Discord server, linked in the description, by the way. And he just looks like a fun toy, so I picked it up and was pretty satisfied with it. The same story goes for Prime Knockout from Legacy Year 1. I like that toy too, which I've probably said about half a dozen times at this point. Seconded on Dead End. Bomb Burst, I'm willing to forgive a lot more just because he's core class. Same for Iguanus, you know. And as for the rest, I don't have them. Don't have them.
The most I can say about Geocron is that the shade of brown they used for him looks disgusting.
It's like poopy.
Ugh. Good Lord.
Yeah. That's the downside of making an entire batch of characters based off of rocks, is that they just kind of look like coprolites, for lack of a better word.
You know, it's a shame that it is just the two of us doing this episode, because it feels like there's so many figures left untouched that we could talk about.
I just don't have strong opinions on the rest of them. Overall, I guess I'll go back to the first slide. Overall, I think Legacy was mildly successful for what it was. Most of the toys were either, inconsequential or pretty damn good. As far as my opinion goes, there's only like a handful that are truly bad. It was a pretty fun time. I really liked waiting for new reveals, seeing what was in store, and hopefully Age of the Primes continues to surprise us.
Well, I mean, I really like the Waspinator, the Fugitive Waspinator they've got coming out. The colors look super nice on him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Red Alert and Skybite. Skybite looks good. It looks like they spec'd into making the shark mode posable, and I really respect that.
Yeah, I like the look of Skybite, and of course this means Transmetal 2 Cyber Shark. Gimme.
Hold your seahorses.
And you know what? When you really think about it, technically speaking, even after Wave 5 of United is done, we're still not entirely done with Legacy, because we have a certain HasLab on the way.
Oh boy.
Well, you're not looking forward to a Mega Prime?
Oh shit, that's the one you were talking about.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Lyle Kaiser.
Someone demote this guy from Headmaster, please.
No. Sorry, I've been too
I
busy.
fucking killed it.
I'm sorry. I've been too busy grading assignments. Yeah, that's it.
Oh dear.
But yeah, this was a fun look back at the trilogy just passing. So
Your
yeah,
homework, to those still watching, your homework is to come up with suggestions for our next episode, because we're kind of stuck at this point.
yeah. We don't really have an idea. But yeah, so our next episode will be sometime mid-March. We haven't decided yet, but since Mardi Gras this year is March 4th, I wish to wish all of you a very happy Mardi Gras. Laissez les bons temps rouler. This has been the Chugcratic seminar once again. Myself, I have been Kit Catastrophe, headmaster of the School of Athenia.
And I've been Roostone, the Dean of Critique.
Class dismissed.